Hi, today we're going to be talking about falls risk management. My name is Michael Terry, I'm from Momentum Safety and Ergonomics, and this is the 5-Minute Safety Series. Okay, so jumping on in and talking about hazards to do with falls management. And when it comes to identifying hazards, we're going to use the same types of processes that we usually do. We're going to, of course, consult with our workers and ask them where the main falls risks that they think are out there. One of the main things that we're going to try and do here is look at our workplace inspection checklists. So these are the things that we actually use to just go ahead and sort of, it's a checklist that we go around and have a look for different hazards in the workplace, and it's a great chance for identifying any potential trip hazards, those sorts of things. One of the main things that we need to watch out for when it comes to falls is obviously heights. Okay, so heights is where we're going to have our most serious falls. So you're looking for any area or any place where a worker is working at any height, and the greater the height, the greater risk there is going to be. The other one to, I think, look out for here is slopes, particularly rooftops and those sorts of things. It might not be particularly high, but the fact that it's on a serious slope does increase the risk of a fall there as well. When it comes to risk assessment tools for falls management, there is no specific risk assessment tool. We can just go ahead and use our generic or standard risk assessment tool that we have in the workplace. That tends to do the job pretty well. The higher the height, the more detailed risk assessment you're going to need to do. Oftentimes, if you're talking about a construction workplace, these risk assessments will be built into things like safe work method statements. So once we've identified where the risk is, we need to obviously put some good control measures in place for reducing the risk of hurting ourselves from falls. And we're going to use our favourite, the hierarchy of control. Can we eliminate the risk completely? And what we're looking at here is, can we make sure that the work is done on solid ground where possible? So oftentimes we can use things like extendable or telescopic cleaners, for example, to get to a height so that we don't actually have to be up there. We can be standing on the ground and using some sort of extension to perform that heights work that we need to. Where that's not possible, we need to look at options where we're working on a solid surface. So we might be looking at things like work platforms, scissor lifts, or making sure that whatever surface we're working on is appropriately protected from an edge protection point of view. So these are some good examples of some engineering controls, and we've got some pictures of those on screen here at the moment. When it comes to administrative controls, we need to think about things like obviously training workers in working at heights, and there is specific working at heights training courses that you can send your workers to, so that's important. We also need to have, where we are not controlling our risks appropriately, we need to have something called a work permit. So work permits are used for things like working at heights and other particular hazardous areas. And what they do is they make sure we are comprehensive in our approach to making sure that we've got the appropriate administrative controls into place. So a person will not be able to go and start working at heights until they've completed the work permit, and we make sure we have the appropriate controls in place. So we should be using work permits for high risk falls. And of course, built into all these controls is going to be some PPE options as well. So we might be looking at lanyards and appropriate fall arrest systems. Okay, so there we go. There's a nice summary of, quick summary of falls risk management. The main takeaways are that we need to be comprehensive in our approach for identifying the hazards for falls. We'll use inspection checklists, talk to our workers, all the usual approaches. We do risk assessments for each one of these hazardous situations, and then we implement appropriate controls. Those controls should be, where possible, working on solid ground or a solid work surface that doesn't have the risk of falls. If this is not possible, we need to implement good administrative systems, which should include a permit to work. Thanks for watching the 5-Minute Safety Series. If you felt like you got some value out of these videos, please click on the screen to see some of the other videos in the 5-Minute Safety Series, or otherwise feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel.